Okay, here we go. So, a couple of things just to start out. I want to let you know that I know the video quality here is pretty awful. I just started doing this and I'm learning as I go, and I promise it will get better. I am going to make a small investment to make the videos of a better quality. Second thing I wanted to say about what I say. I speak from my experience of drinking and alcohol. That was my big issue. Big issue. And so when I speak, I say that, but it can easily be applied to drug, and it can be applied to gambling, it can be applied to eating, it can be applied to sex, to porn, to anything that is obsessively, compulsively destroying your life, hurting you a lot. So I just want to say that. So when I say drinking and alcohol and AA, it doesn't necessarily mean just those things. It can apply to any serious problem of obsessive compulsive and a general recovery community. So having said that, the next thing I wanted to talk about was probably the biggest objection that people have when coming into most of the recovery programs. A lot of people hate that word, but we'll just use it anyway. And that is the God thing, right? And I was the same way. So I wasn't looking for a religion. I wasn't looking for a God. Really didn't want be around people who were going to be talking about God and trying to get me to convert to whatever. That was not why I wanted to be there. And to be honest, I was looking for any reason at all to not go to these meetings and to these places and talk to these people. And the reason why, deep down, was I didn't want to stop drinking. And that was the truth. So I would tell lies. It was really not the truth about me having a problem with the God thing. But it was, a good enough reason for me to use it as an objection. We sometimes have we used to say a lot that there is something called contempt prior to investigation. That means we already hate it before we even know anything about it, because the one thing we know about it is it wants to stop us from doing what we were alive to do, killing us to do, right? It was, we knew what it meant. I knew what it meant. It meant no more. And as much as I needed no more, I didn't think I could do it. And I was afraid. I was afraid of being sober. I was petrified of a day without a drink. So again, extrapolate this to whatever the obsessive compulsive behavior you have might be. Which brings me to the next thing, which is, all these are early on, things that you're going to need early on, or things you should be hearing early on, or things that I heard early on that helped me a lot. And if you've been around for a while, it doesn't hurt to hear this again. And like I said in another video, it's not a bad thing to remind your sponsees, people that you're sponsoring. So, yeah. So the next thing would be the serenity prayer. Prayers, right? And I heard it and I thought it was a little trite. So it isn't. And there's a reason why it's our prayer. And it doesn't even need to be a prayer as much as a statement of something that you aspire toward. So, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Okay, so if you want to take out the God part, you can. I'm going to say that there is no requirement to believe in anything when you come in to recovery. All we want you to do is just show up and listen. And like I said, you can be atheist, you can be agnostic, you can be of any religion, whatever. We don't care. You're of no more or less value than anybody else. In fact, we want you, and you're completely welcome, and you are well represented within. So accept the things I cannot change. That's the biggest first thing. You're essentially saying here that in the first first time you're applying this prayer is you're accepting who you are, the nature of who you are. For me, it was being an alcoholic. So I had to accept that I was an alcoholic, and that was not an easy thing to accept, because it's not just saying you're an alcoholic. It goes with, well, once you say that, you can't unring a bell, as was once said to me. And so once you say it, you own it. And to accept it, and to really accept it, you have to be in a good place. And that's why they say the serenity. We want the peace in our mind so that we can really say, you know what, this is who I am. This is what I am. So we're asking for that peace. In this prayer, you're asking for the serenity, you're asking for the courage, and you're asking for the wisdom. You're not necessarily asking for the things that come after it. You're asking to be set up for those things, right? Which brings me to the second part, which is the courage. The courage to change the things we can. Now, that's a really big thing for us, because the courage to change the things we can is stopping doing what we're doing. That frightened me a lot. And really, I'm asking for the courage to do that, right? Because to do that for me took a long time. It took me 3 years. I'm not saying it should take 3 years. It shouldn't take 3 years. But it took me 3 years before I stopped. But I was going and listening and absorbing everything. And that courage picked up where I thought, maybe I can do this, and maybe my life would get better. And, they're doing it. I guess I can do it, and they seem pretty happy, and I'm not. So the courage to change the things you can is when you actually stop. But again, we're asking for the courage, the setup for the stop, right? It's a gentle prayer, or it's even don't even necessarily think it's a gentle statement to somebody who's suffering. The wisdom to know the difference is where, for me, was to stop the lies, to stop the excuses, to see the truth. See the truth in those things, right? And there was truth in those things. And so, I said in the beginning, it's not even necessarily a prayer if you don't want it to be a prayer, because it can be just a statement that you say to yourself over and over, hoping that the power of suggestion, that it will be absorbed. I also, and you'll probably be able to relate to this, is sometimes you get racing thoughts. You have obsessions, of course, and that's going to be covered eventually. So having a rote group of words that are constructive that you say over and over will help interrupt that thinking. Has for me. Sometimes it helps me fall asleep when I say a prayer over and over, because sometimes I have trouble sleeping. So these are the things. This is why the prayer is important to us. Now, eventually, the prayer can be applied to many, many things in your life, because you realize how little control you have and how you can be at peace with not being in control of everything. But that comes later. The first thing we're trying to do is get to the point where we want to, and we can, and we do get sober. Like I said, not using whatever the compulsion is. So there it is. Next video will be soon, and thanks.